If you're a woman that's in the menopausal age, there's no denying you're finding fat loss ridiculously hard at the moment. You're starting to see belly fat accumulate where it never used to accumulate before. It's almost come out of nowhere. Even though you haven't changed anything in your lifestyle or your diet, it just seems to be getting worse and worse. And no matter how hard you try in the gym with your diet, you're just not seeing the results that you wanted to see. In this video, I'm going to cover exactly why that is and why fat loss and toning up becomes so hard for women once they start reaching these ages. If you're unsure of who I am, I'm Lewis and I have helped many menopausal women get in the best shape of their lives. All of them came to me in the exact same space that you are right now. They were doing everything right. They were focusing on tracking their calories. They were trying to get their steps in, exercising regularly, but yet no results happened. But as you can see, from where they started with me to where they are now, their results are incredible and they are in the best place they've ever been in their lives. So what I'm going to do in this video today is I'm going to talk you through exactly why women struggle so much during the menopause, but also how to get through it and show you that you can still get an amazing level of results. And before we dive into this video and I get into the nitty-gritty, if you are a woman that's looking to increase your fat loss results and start learning how to do things correctly, then you can head straight to the link in my bio where you can sign up for Project Sculpt and Tone, and all the information about how we can help you will be right there. Okay, so diving into things, what we're going to discuss first is why does body fat around the belly start to accumulate more as you get to that menopausal age. Now, the main reason for this is the body starts to produce less estrogen levels from the ovaries. Now, because it's producing less estrogen, your body still looks for other ways in which it can try and still produce some, because your body needs estrogen levels to go about its day. Now, one way in which it does this is it starts to produce more body fat cells. And because when it increases these body fat cells, it can actually produce a little bit of estrogen from this. Not massive amounts, but it can still produce some estrogen. So because we're increasing the level of fat cells that we have, particularly around the belly area, this is where women start to notice an increase in that fat distribution that starts to go to the waistline as opposed to the legs and the thighs. It's because of this shift in your estrogen levels as well as your testosterone levels. So what women start to notice is they start to get more of that male patterning body fat sort of area. As you know, women when they're younger usually tend to hold it in their thighs and their hips, but as they get to that menopausal age, they start doing what men do, and that's accumulating around the waistline and the organs. But something that we need to note on this is body fat doesn't just accumulate from thin air. There's certain things that start moving us towards to gaining more body fat. And the first thing that we need to understand is it's not from what a lot of people tell you online. I'm sure you've seen it constantly online where these influencers and trainers are telling you as you get older, your metabolism is starting to slow down. You're starting to burn fewer calories. Well, actually, this is misinformation. And I think this is really bad information to be given out. It gives you less hope. Because what happens is, as women start to age, they believe, oh, my metabolism's slowing down, it's hard for me to lose fat, I'm not going to be able to do it. And they start losing hope and to be able to get these results. So although I understand the point of where these trainers and influencers come from, that they're trying to make you feel better, it's not helpful advice. Now, what actually happens is your metabolism slows down to a certain degree, but it's not your body just burning less calories for no reason just because you're getting older. Studies have shown time and time again that your metabolism technically doesn't slow down as long as you keep activity levels up and you're not losing muscle mass. These are the key two things that lead to the amount of calories that you burn every single day. So yes, if as you're getting older, your energy is a little bit less, you're less having a get up and go to move about your day, and you're not weight training, then technically your metabolism is going to be damaged, I'm going to say. But that's because you're losing muscle and moving less. Whereas if you were moving the same amount, you maintained the same amount of muscle mass, you wouldn't have this problem and you wouldn't need to worry. So that's the first thing that I wanted to clear up, to make sure you don't fall for this myth and think that you've lost all hope. Because again, I've shown you already that we've helped many, many women, menopausal age, get fantastic results. And it's because of all the things that I'm about to tell you about. Now, another thing that can contribute to accumulating you more of this belly fat, obviously that first one being if you are doing less activity, you're losing muscle mass. This is one thing that accumulates more body fat, right? The next thing is sleep. When women get to that menopausal age, sleep can take a massive hit. Now, this is because of the change in your hormones that's going on, and if you're getting hot flushes, then this is going to be something that can impair your sleep and wake you up in the middle of the night. You may not feel like you're getting a deep sleep, you may be tossing and turning, or you can wake up in absolute sweats. And this is because of the change that's going on in your hormones during this time. Now, the thing that sleep impacts the most is one, your energy levels, right? Which we've already discussed. If you've got less energy, your ability to train hard starts to go down. Your wanting to get out and be active and do more is going down. So we're burning less calories from these two things alone. But not only that, but when we have less energy, what's another way that we can try and get energy in if we're not sleeping? Food, right? Food is energy at the end of the day. So if we're not sleeping and we're feeling tired, our body naturally increases our cravings for food. And the cravings that it gives you is going to be for carbohydrate foods and sugary foods. Firstly, these two things aren't bad. Like, that's not what I'm getting at, so don't think that, okay? But the body naturally craves these because they're a quick release of energy. The typical thing though is usually the foods that it gets your body to crave are the foods that are probably not the best for keeping lower calories in your diet, right? They tend to be much higher in calories. So if we're not sleeping enough, we have less energy, we have more cravings. Again, this starts to shift the balance away from being able to maintain a healthier weight, lower body fat percentage, to then slowly start accumulating it by shifting things in the wrong direction to where we want to be. So as you can start to see, all these changes that are starting to happen in your body around that menopause age are making things a lot more difficult for fat loss. Another thing that it does is because estrogen has such a positive effect on your dopamine levels and your serotonin levels, also known as your feel-good hormones, this is why women start to experience more depressive symptoms as they get older. And when you look at statistics, as women get towards that menopausal age, suicide rate massively increases. And we can think about if our dopamine levels are dropping, if your serotonin levels are dropping, those feel-good hormones, this starts to put you in more of a, less happy state, if you will. Now, because estrogen has such a good positive effects on these two, and we start to reduce the amount of estrogen your body's producing, we can see how craving different foods are gonna have such a, a positive effect on your dopamine and serotonin levels, right? Because as you eat sugary foods, as you eat carbohydrate foods, again, these are things that stimulate your dopamine. They give you like a little bit of pleasure, right, as you eat it. So if we're seeing those dopamine and serotonin levels naturally drop, again, your cravings are going to naturally be higher because your body's looking to fulfill those dopamine and serotonin levels that it has been missing out on naturally. So again, we're seeing these things build up as you go through the menopause. All these things start accumulating and making it so much harder for you to be able to lose body fat. And then there are two more things that I want to touch on, which can also contribute to you gaining more belly fat and making fat loss so much harder as you get through to that menopausal age. And the first one is choosing the wrong type of exercise. I see women do this wrong all the time, especially the women that come to work with me on a one-to-one basis. When they've come to me explaining they've tried everything and I find out what they've been doing, often their exercise choices aren't particularly the best. What they tend to do is try and hammer like cardio classes, going out for runs, doing HIIT training, trying to do as many different sorts of energetic activity as possible. Now, I'm not saying that these things are inherently bad in isolation, but when your training solely consists of this stuff, it has a negative effect on your body. Now, one thing is that cardio does increase your appetite. So if your main form of exercise to try and stay in shape and burn calories, etc., is constantly doing cardio, this is going to increase your appetite further. So yes, although you're burning more calories, you're probably consuming a lot more. Because let's face it, to burn 300 calories takes for whatever feels like a lifetime when you're doing cardio, right? But you can sink 3 like cookies in seconds, and then that's that whole cardio session wiped out, right? So when women start approaching like exercising and training, just like, oh, I'm gonna try and do cardio all the time to burn as many calories as possible, It's an uphill battle because it takes so much longer again to burn those calories than it does consume them. So your choice of exercise and cardio to try and drop body fat is actually shooting yourself in the foot, and that's another reason why you're starting to struggle to keep this weight off that you once didn't struggle with. And then the final thing that I see people doing, not wrong necessarily, because it is going to depend on you and your body. And what I would recommend is getting your blood works checked and going to see your gynecologist and speaking about these sorts of things, but is your HRT, or not your HRT if you're not taking it, but taking HRT is a massive thing. I've worked with hundreds of women, and I can safely say that majority of the women that I do see that go on to HRT from an earlier age tend to not struggle with this stuff so much because they're being replaced with the hormones that they've been losing or going to lose. It's cancelled out all these negative effects. Whereas I see women who haven't gone on HRT really start to struggle that much more. Their sleep takes more of a hit, their cravings are much higher, their energy is lower, and they have more of a problem trying to maintain muscle mass as much as possible. Whereas the women who do go on hormone replacement therapy, they tend to have a bit of a smoother sailing time through this. They don't come out unscathed, don't get me wrong, like it's still a big thing that your body goes through. But I definitely have seen the difference between the two of the women who do take HRT, who don't. So these are the main things at the moment that are going to be causing you to gain body fat, okay? And make it so harder to shift around that belly area. So again, we do have like your metabolism is like slightly changing, but that's only because you're moving less and not maintaining or even building muscle tissue, okay? Another thing is the big impact that it's having on your sleep at the moment. This is going to increase your cravings and then also decrease the amount of energy you have to put into activity or even like willpower and things like that now I think about it, right? Other stuff is the type of exercises that you're choosing, probably choosing a bit too much cardio, not enough weight training and stuff like that. We're seeing a change in your dopamine and serotonin because of the dropping hormones. And then also if you're someone that's not taking HRT, this can also exacerbate the feelings and what you're going through during the menopausal age. So those are all the main things, but obviously you're not here just to hear about like what's stopping you. You want to find out how can you get through this, right? How can you make this easier and start to see amazing results, start being able to look in the mirror confidently again, start seeing those changes in the scales that you want to, and you're in luck because obviously that's the next part of this video. So we're going to dive into how I've helped all these women be able to shift their menopausal belly, lose body fat, and finally be able to wear the clothes they want to again, look into the mirror proudly, and be able to wear a bikini for the first time in their lives. So the first thing that I get all my clients to do is we focus on building more muscle tissue. Like I said, as you start getting older, going through the menopause, muscle tissue starts declining. To be fair, muscle tissue starts declining after your 20s. So if you haven't been doing things to try and keep that muscle up, then yeah, it's only going to hit you harder as you get even older towards this menopausal age. So the first thing that I do with all my clients is get them following a structured training program. This is the best thing that you can do for growing more muscle tissue. Now, the problem that I see most people doing is they go into a gym without a plan at all. They just go in and wing any session. They go around, have a look, see what's free, and then just hop from machine to machine. And they don't record any of their workouts, which again is a big, big no-no if you want to build muscle. So what I get all my clients to do is follow a specific program tailored to them and their needs and also their lifestyle. Then what we start to do from there is we start to be able to get them into a great place to start slowly building muscle, building strength, and also over many years, they start to increase their bone density again, which is another very important thing. Now, when it comes to building more muscle tissue, yes, the gym is going to be one of the main things, but so is your protein intake. When you're going to the gym, what you're doing is causing like micro tears and damaging your muscle tissue. If you're not giving your body enough protein to be able to repair that muscle, then technically we're not setting you up for the best place possible to increase your levels of muscle or at least even prevent it. So what we need to do is make sure that we program a very good gym program, but accompanied with a good amount of protein per day. Now, what I recommend to all my clients is aiming for 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you want to be roughly getting around 150 grams of protein, give or take 10 grams either side, okay? So these are going to be the first two main things that we want to try and accomplish when it comes to protecting that muscle tissue, so you can keep your metabolism burning more calories every single day. Also, the more muscle you have, the more stronger you're going to be in terms of like energy as well, just because the day is less taxing on your body when you are stronger. So this is going to be a very, very beneficial thing for you. Now, alongside of this, we also have to look at protecting sleep. Sleep is very, very difficult as you go through that menopausal age, again, especially if you're not taking HRT. So what we need to do is make sure that we're doing all that we can to protect our sleep routine. Now again, when we talk about when we're building muscle tissue, right? When we're in the gym, we're causing micro tears and damaging the muscle. If you're not sleeping enough, when your body's AKA recovering, again, we're going to be missing out on being able to build as much muscle tissue as possible. So we need to make sure that we're getting enough sleep every single night, so we're being able to go in, repair and recover those muscles so we can grow stronger as we go along. So one main thing that you need to do is look at your sleep hygiene. Now, when I'm talking about sleep hygiene, what I mean is making sure that firstly, you're going to bed at the same time every single night. This is one of the biggest issues that I see women come across. They go to bed at different times every single night. Sometimes it might be 8 p.m. Well, no, what I'm talking about, no one goes to bed at 8 p.m. really. It might be like 10 p.m., could be 12 p.m., could be 11 p.m. I've seen this happen so many times. Did I say 12 p.m.? It should be 12 a.m., right? Yeah, 12 a.m. I've seen this happen so many times where they're just going to bed at different times. And what this stops your body from being able to do is release melatonin. Now, melatonin is our sleep-inducing hormone. If you've ever been on a long-haul flight and you've come back and got jet lag, that's because your body is used to releasing melatonin at a certain time, that it just hits you at the wrong time per day from wherever you've come from or wherever you're going to. That your body's trying to put you into sleep, but obviously it's middle of the day, so you're not sleepy because you're trying to get up and carry on throughout the day. This is a really long-winded answer, so I'm going to cut to the chase. But basically, our body releases melatonin, our sleep-inducing hormone. So if you're going to bed at different times every night, your body doesn't really know when to consistently release this hormone, that you never actually establish a proper sleep routine and induce that sleep. So the first and foremost thing is making sure that you go to bed at the same time every single night. Within half an hour, of course, like it's going to be hard to on the minute, on the dot every single night go to bed, but you get where I'm coming from, right? And then we want to make sure that we're waking up roughly the same time every single day as well. Because again, we're trying to establish a routine. When we're trying to improve our sleep, a routine is absolutely everything. Other things that we can do to improve your sleep is also going to be making sure that you're not browsing your phone as soon as you go to bed, working too close to bed, alcohol, smoking, caffeine, all these sorts of things like close to bed is a big no-no because it's going to shoot yourself in the foot. So we need to make sure that your sleep hygiene is as best as it can be to make sure that you're being able to drift off and stay sound asleep. Now, another thing that you want to make sure is that it's a cool and dark room, especially if you are going through the menopause and you're noticing body temperature increases through the night that's waking you up. We want to make sure that the room, the mattress, the quilting, everything is as cool as it can possibly be so you can not wake up in a sweaty mess. Now, the next thing that we want to do is actually follow a high satiety diet. As you know, there are many different diets in the world. We can talk about keto, we can talk about fasting, we can talk about carnivore diets, vegan, whatever it is, right? Most of them are all shit. The one that's really, really good is something called the high satiety diet. Now, what this is making sure basically that you eat a lot of protein, because protein is going to be the main thing that keeps you fuller than anything else. Also, a little bonus fact for you, when we eat protein, we burn more calories through digestion. So we actually end up taking on less calories when we eat protein as opposed to carbs and fats. So not only is it really filling, but we actually burn more calories when we eat it. The next thing is making sure that we have a high fiber diet as well. Again, just like protein, fiber is very, very satiating and fulfilling in the stomach. So when we have a high protein, high fiber diet, we stay fuller for longer and experience less hunger and less cravings, okay? Another thing that we want to make sure that we're doing is actually eating like a moderate palatability diet. Now, what I mean by that is, If we was to choose something that is low palatability, meaning that it's not very tasty, you don't enjoy it, that's obviously going to shoot yourself in the foot because you're not going to feel very satisfied. And this is where a lot of women go wrong when they try and lose weight. They try and eat the blandest, most boringest diet that they don't enjoy, and therefore they don't stick to it, right? So if you eat a very low palatability diet and you don't enjoy it, you're going to crave other things later on. But equally, if you have a high palatability diet, meaning that it's very flavorsome, there's loads of different varieties of food, studies have shown that this increases the amount of food that you would eat. A great example for this is if I set you loose into a buffet, an all-you-can-eat buffet, you're going to eat significantly more because you want to try and taste every different sort of flavor of thing, right? So again, we don't want a low palatability diet, but equally we don't want a high palatability diet. We want somewhere in the middle, something that you enjoy, but also doesn't lead to more cravings and wanting you to eat more and more, okay? And also making sure that we're not having a massive variety of foods because again, this can stimulate your taste buds into eating more. So this is basically what the high satiety diet is. High protein, high fiber, moderate palatability, okay? Now the next thing that we want to go into when we're looking at this sort of stuff is the amount of cardio that you're doing. I do very minimal cardio with my clients. I try and keep it to the bare minimum. And again, that's because when I program cardio for my clients, it will increase their appetite 9 times out of 10. So if we're doing too much cardio, this is going to be a massive no-no, if you will, for being able to keep your calories down as low as possible. Because again, if you're overdoing it, you're going to be increasing your cravings, increasing your hunger, which is going to make dieting even harder. Not only that, but a lot of cardio isn't great for preserving muscle tissue. It can actually have a negative effect on you being able to maintain muscle tissue, only if you're not training. If you're weight training regularly, getting enough protein, getting enough sleep, cardio is fine. But if you don't have these foundations in place and you're not doing weights and just doing cardio, you will probably be losing muscle mass, which is again going to negatively impact your metabolism and the amount of calories that you do burn. And then the final thing that we're going to cover in this is if you are someone that doesn't know how to do these things, you're unsure about how to program in the gym, you don't know how to get enough protein in or even how much protein you should be eating, you're unsure about how to build this high satiety diet, then what you can do is head to the link in my bio. We are running an 8-week program called Project Sculpt and Tone that is specifically designed for women any age, usually between 30 and 70 we've had in the program, to help you lose body fat, tone up, and finally feel confident not only in your body, but also in the gym. So if this is something that you believe would be highly beneficial and you need that accountability and support to help you get these level of results, then head to that link in my bio and we'll be sure to help you out in our next intake of Project Sculpt and Tone.